Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Hopefully you can hear me now loud and clear. Yeah, we're dropping the intro silently. I'm going to pull ourselves up. Yeah, we're back on X. And it's Sunday. Live from the shop. And I'm going to turn the audio down on that. Pull ourselves up on the monitor here. And there we are. All right, we got Jonocide up in here. What's going on, brother Jonocide and Keely Pack? What's up? How you doing this Sunday? Yeah, we're doing pretty well here after we were planning to do this last night, but that didn't work out. Yep. Yeah, it was active last night here. I stayed overtime, stayed about till 10 o'clock or so, and it was just busy. Yeah, an unexpected ska show happened to pop up next door at the Catalyst, and you know that's tied to us here at Sky's the Limit. And there we are. What's up, Tina C? We're gonna hang out here for a bit today. People are like, "Oh yeah, I can't hang out." Yeah, we're gonna take it easy. I got my bro here. We got backup, and I don't think there's any shows scheduled for later today. We're gonna switch our banner up here right quick. What's up, NAC? You know, this morning on my way to the shop, it was funny. Right before my exit, this Bronco pulled up. I've talked about, see more Bigfoot related stuff here in Southern California. We had the Running Springs Festival, one of the bigger festivals in Southern California now. We talked about the 626 Festival as well. And their mascot is Bigfoot. So a lot more Bigfoot stuff being seen out here in Southern California. And there's always been, but like not like Northern California. But yeah, there's a Bigfoot. What is it? Is it Bigfoot coffee shop? And speaking of coffee, the other day, where's Blazer? Blazer out there had sent me a picture of some coffees. I know there's a Sasquatch coffee brand. I'm familiar with that, but I guess it's a new coffee brand because it's new to me. I had never heard of it. Let's see if I could pull this up. Yeah, so he sends me a picture of the bag of coffee, and it's got the Bigfoot on the logo and everything, and I'm like, cool, cheers. And not a minute, or maybe a couple minutes, let's give it a couple minutes at least, after I receive another text message from somebody else, and I check it, and it's the same thing. They're showing me the coffee brand, and I thought I got mixed up, maybe checking the same message from Blazer, but this other person, they're here in California. Blazer's where Blazer is, and they sent me the same. It was the weirdest thing. It was pretty weird, I thought, and funny. Maybe we'll get the brand here in a second. I could try and look it up. Anyway, everyone having a good weekend. I heard about storms hitting in parts of certain parts of the country. So prayers to those folks out there. Yeah, I've never experienced anything like that. Out here, we get the earthquakes. And we had been mentioning them earlier this month. It's been a wild month this April, folks. Yeah, we'll get into it. Let's start off with some Bigfoot reports while we have them. And we'll see how the stream flows from there. All aboard. Checking out the chat on the side. What's up, Mikey? Oh, the boys are back. Yeah, we're getting quite a bit of customers today as well, which is super cool. Yeah, last night was off the hook. I never seen the shop so busy. And maybe it's a good idea that I leave early when those shows are happening. It was good to help my brother out though, and he didn't take off till like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. And here we have it. So we're gonna head over to the Bigfoot mapping project. And if you've noticed, when we pull this map up, usually the fresh new reports are lit up in green, and we've talked about that. And again, we'll pull up. Let's see, where is it? I think it's right here. So it says, so the orange occurred in the last 7 days. Green reported in the last 48 hours. Blue reported in the last 10 days. And then the worldwide sightings map there in yellow. And then we've been noticing, so sometimes they'll pop up like orange. So it's occurred in the last 7 days, and they'll have a green hue to it. So reported in the last 48 hours. So I don't know if you could select both of them, because they would both qualify, right? So depending. So I wonder if it's like, if the report happened recently, then it's lit up green. But if it's a throwback report, maybe it'll get that. Like, I don't know. It's weird. So reported as when the encounter happened, or reported as report submitted. Sorry to confuse everyone. Sorry, we're taking a dive into my head here. So there's going to be plenty of ups and downs, ins and outs, confusion, wondering, pondering, downloading. Bigfoot, Missouri, Poncho Zorch. What's up? So look, Zorch doesn't have a shield here. He should. We're going to give him, I don't know if he switched channels, or is that a new channel there, Poncho? So just a heads up when you check out the map, and we're going to dive on in. Yes, we got one on the West Coast here. We got a report in Cali. Should we start off with Cali? All right, let's head on over to Canada. And this is where the Canadian flap of reports was happening. Was it like last week, last 2 weeks, right after the Ohio flap? Started noticing a rash of reports starting to pop up on the map here in Ontario, Canada. And it looks like we're back in the same place here. So we're going to have a look. And some of those reports were questionable, Some of them were decent, like, oh, believable, But some of them were like, oh, yeah, no, this is. So it had me questioning all these Canadian reports and question it all. So we're going to drop the Squatch, and I see town of Cambridge, and it's possible that some of those older reports, they're not lit up anymore. I don't see any. There is a few. Let's see. There is a red Squatch up here, one to the right there, and one way off near Stratford on the left. So there is some in the area. Oh, yeah, down below also. So we're kind of in the middle of some of these red reports, and probably the reports that were part of that flap. And a few of those reports were also throwbacks. And those reports, I was theorizing that due to a newsreel that was sent to me by Hillbilly Herb, and hopefully he comes through to hang out. Cool video on the dreams there, Hillbilly Herb. Yeah, I checked out the newsreel, and I was like, oh, awesome. And they pulled up the Bigfoot mapping project. They interviewed the creator of the mapping project, and the news reporters actually went boots on the ground to some of the sightings locations. So that was a cool news segment there. And I was wondering, maybe due to the news segment, that people in the area hearing about that. Maybe that contributed to more reports being added to the map. Makes sense to me, right? Very possible. So we'll have a little read here. This says 4/24/26, 5:19 p.m. This guy was 7 feet and he got the 2 inches in. I don't know. Maybe the 2 inches was it like a mohawk or something. Who knows? Male. And it did vocalize. So get that. And seems pretty short. So it says I was fly fishing and then I smelled something rotting like cabbage. And no footprints. And it also says I heard a weird sound and looked around and saw something looking at me. Oh, whoa. That report switched up. So I wonder how far would you have to be for it to be considered like a class A? Because if it's looking at you. Yeah, interesting. So no details on the description. Too bad. If it was looking at you, I'm sure you must have seen something. And it would have been interesting to hear. But that's all we got there. Again, near Cambridge. Here, let's drop it a little further, see if we could get any more details. It says Speed River or Riverside Park. Let's see to the left there. Speed River Valley Lands. I see several highways, a big old 401 going through there. McDonald Cartier Freeway. All right, let's head on over to the West Coast. And again, if you guys got some reports or sightings of anything strange, especially something like Bigfoot, let us know. So we're dropping this question. Looking like the Sierras here. And my brother took off. We're solo at the shop again. Heads up, back on duty. That always makes the streams exciting, let me tell you. It's kind of gut-wrenching sometimes. All right, so I see Alpine popping up there. And then Loop, town of Loop. Never heard of Loop. Heard of Alpine before. Let's drop it a little further. I see hot springs up here. Grover Hot Springs State Park. And I'm taking it, maybe we're in Alpine County. I'm going to guess. I'm not exactly sure. But look, you can take a look at the terrain. Not heavily wooded, kind of like the trees are pretty spread apart. But there is some trees. It looks like a road there. And no other information popping up other than this, I guess, Road 4 or Highway 4. I see to the top here, East Fork, Carson River. So you got the Carson River flowing by. And let's see what this report says here before they take it away. 4/19, close to day before 4/20. I'm telling you, this month has been crazy. And even building up to 4/20. And I'll be pulling some other information up here in a bit pertaining to some other happenings. We briefly talked about it. We had a stream the other night with a couple of wild speed chases. What's up, Lori, lad? Hopefully you're feeling better today and healing vibes to you. Discovering Sasquatch, cryptids. What's up? See, Mikey doesn't have a shield. We're going to give Mikey a shield. Uh-oh. Boom. No, I'm not trying to send a gift. It's cool that you could do that now, though. All right, it's not letting me do it. I'll wait for the chat to go up a bit. I'm trying to click on Mikey's name to give him... It's not letting me do it. Trying to give him, all right, whatever. A badge. We'll try again later, Mikey. So 4/19/26, 9:02 p.m. They got the 2 minutes in on that. No height, no sex, no vocalization on this report. It says hiking from campground to Wolf Creek, saw 2 prints on a game trail. The one we cast was the best print. We also encountered many deer bones and skulls. No visual, footprint only. All right, bro's back with trash bags. Short report there. And I don't see any other squatches in this immediate area, but let's zoom on out here, see if anything else pops up. Yeah, nothing popping up there. Now, as we go further out, then you see up north and let's see, west of there and south of there, you got some action. And there you have it. That's your Bigfoot Mapping Project report. And I did see, I didn't mention, I was talking about in the beginning, seeing more Bigfoot related stuff out here in Southern California. This morning, I seen a Bronco. It was a white Bronco, a newer one. And no, it wasn't OJ. And it got really near to me. Maybe it wanted to see if I'd check out the Bronco or something. It seemed to get my attention. And on the back of the Bronco, on the emblem, you know how it has the horse kind of like doing its whatever gallop or jumping or whatever. They had a Sasquatch riding the horse. Yeah, I was like, whoa. That was pretty cool. Yeah, they had Cali plates and I was like, oh, there goes that Sasquatch again. And we're going to go ahead and refresh this while we're here to see if anything else pops up. It is the weekend. I think weekends are good for submitted reports. Just started warming up out there. Huh. Yeah, we have a pretty decent day. Pretty windy out here. All right, let's skip on over to BFRO right quick. And we'll say our disclaimer now. Yes, we know who runs the site. We're using this for educational and information purposes. So yeah, no new reports here. So we'll skip that. Boom. All right, you're not pulling up. Darn it. I had Bigfoot Society's map ready to go because I did pull up areas around that California report we just read. And also today on the Bigfoot front, I did check out the STM documentary, Alex Pedikov out in Texas. And very interesting, some strange growls and I guess you could not quite vocals, maybe some stomach growls of some sort of unknown creature, but they were able to capture that. And what I found interesting in the documentary is that while they were getting the audio, he also got a thermal hit because they I guess sent it off to some people, maybe some I don't know if it was a biologist or what, but the feedback was that it might have been gator. So the website's not pulling up. Oh, here we go. Hopefully it pulls up right where I left off. All right, there we go. That's darn it. Lost our place. Hopefully we find it again. Let's see. Where's Loop or Alpine? There's Alpine Village. Uh-oh, camera just deactivated. Oh, here's Loop. There's Loop. So Alpine should be down in this area, somewhere around down here. And the report was like somewhere up here. Here's that that highway. And so no reports from Bigfoot Society. So we're just checking other online databases here. But down below, just like the Bigfoot Mapping Project, and I'm sure over actually on BFRO, we'll check Alpine, the county of Alpine, for any reports. And I know there is. So yeah, you got some reports down below here, down in the Stanislaus National Forest. And then up at Lake Tahoe, of course, and in the El Dorado National Forest. All right, so let's search over here right quick. Let's go to reports. Boom. Again, y'all know what to do in the chat. Kick back, light them up. What's up, Sharon? 42-1 BB4. What's going on? Andy Cowley, what's going on, bro? Mad Pax in the house. What up? Cheers to you, brother. Hope you're enjoying the weekend. And yeah, you'll hear background. You know, it's an active Sunday here at the shop as well. It was actually quite calm a little while ago, but things picking up as we get further into the day. Yeah, 2:15 here already, West Coast. And let's hop on to California and Alpine. Boom, right away. Look, 9 reports. And don't forget on this site that you could check out the latest reports by going to the state. And if you go to the top here, they list the latest reports for that particular state there. And Alpine, 9 reports out of Alpine. We'll just read these. September 2012, a Class A deer hunter has sighting in Sierra Nevada mountains south of Markleeville. October 2005, a Class B hiker leaves main trail and finds 2 sets of footprints. And that's what this recent report also described was finding tracks. November 2004, Class B finally finds trackway near Bear Valley. August 2002, a Class B campers hear late night screams near Woodfords. My brother was just up in the Sierras recently. November 2001, Class B fisherman hears afternoon screams at Lake Alpine. Whoa, sound like that. April 2000, 3 hikers observe tracks while mountain biking on a trail in canyon. In a canyon. So a lot of track finding in this Alpine area. I wonder what these tracks are looking like. July 1983. Here we go. Throwbacks. I like those, especially from the 80s, 70s. Runners hear unusual whistles near Woodsford. There's Woodsford again. Putting Woodsfords down on my notes there. October 1982 through 83, hunters are intimidated out of their hunting ground near Bear Valley. Here we go. Bear Valley again. Should name it to Squatch Valley. December 1978, Class B, tracks again found by vacationers. Interesting stuff there, Alpine. A lot of tracks. So if you're in the Alpine area, keep an eye. Make sure you have your LiDAR on you, some plaster, water bucket, everything you need, a stick, and make some tracks. Take some pictures. Get that LiDAR in. And yeah, there you have it from the BFRO there. Let's see. We're going to hop on over to Bigfoot Encounters website and check for any Alpine activity right away. Boom. Look at that second report there. And I think it's the only one. And I might have to pull this particular site back up a little later. So we're going to go down some weird avenues here. So let's check this out. We'll just It's a pretty long report there. We'll just read the title. Let's see. Alpine County, California, Sierra Nevada Mountains, Ebbets Pass. 1973 report there. And had a terrible experience on a camping trip. He lived in Oakland. So there is, some activity from Alpine. Is Bigfoot out there? Wouldn't surprise me. Let's see, where are we going next? Bigfoot mapping database or Bigfoot report database. And let's see what they have. So here we got several reports for Alpine, it looks like. And we'll just read off the titles on these as well. Solo backpacker experiences frightening encounter with unknown creature in El Dorado National Forest. It says Alpine County here. Is El Dorado, is parts of El Dorado National Forest in Alpine County? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe the homie Jeffrey Kelly would be able to tell us. Exploration for Bigfoot behind Real Peak in Kirkwood area. And Kirkwood I've brought up because a family member of ours used to stay with us up in Humboldt for the summer, and then the winter he'd head over down to Kirkwood and work the ski lifts there. And yeah, I guess he'd have access to snowboard at certain places. And so he loved doing that. So we went to visit him, I think a couple times out that way. Lake Tahoe and Kirkwood rings a bell. I don't think we went to Kirkwood, though. Let's see. Hunters encounter unseen presence and rock throwing in Alpine County, California. Damn, chucking rocks. Witness encounters bipedal Bigfoot near Pine Groves in Alpine County, Cali. Experienced deer hunter encounters tall bipedal primate in Sierra Nevada mountains. And that's it says Alpine here. Solo camper hears loud noises and growls in northern Sierra Nevada. And again, so if you're interested in these Alpine reports, here are some sites where you can look up and dig around. And what's up? Hola, Carlos. What's up, Skywatcher? You might want to hang out, Carlos, as you've probably heard some of the missing and unalived scientists. Yes, I want to get into that because there's been some interesting breaking news. We're going to break it here, actually, and because I haven't heard it anywhere else. And we'll get into that in a second. We wanted to get into some of this Bigfoot online reports and bring that to you, because sometimes they remove these reports. Over on the Bigfoot Mapping Project, there was a recent one, and they by default sometimes they have been popping up in Mali, and I heard Mali stuff happening out there. Prayers to those folks. But yeah, they've been popping up there, and it was a report out of Alabama. Luckily, I was able to read the report, and it was late night, so I didn't get to report on it. But I might have done a recording. I'll have to check. But they removed that one, and maybe it was because it was out there added to that weird default African spot in Mali. Yeah, reports just happen to pop up there. And we've been pointing that out. So just a heads up. But yeah, it was out of Alabama, and I no longer see the report. Maybe it'll be added later. Who knows? And it didn't seem to be a bogus one. Anyway, so that's why I like to report on these as soon as they pop up. And we've seen them disappear during a live. We've seen them be added during a live too. So that's cool. Well, it's not cool when they disappear, but well, we would be, I wouldn't mind if we would at least read it, then it would disappear. But Yeah, and then we've also read some recently altered reports. I guess you could say they were some of the information was edited, and that was off of the BFRO, and with reason. We actually had read the whole thing, so we knew the stuff they edited. And there was actually a channel that was touching on what it was a new channel, and their feed came up, and it was the latest report out of the BFRO, and it was supposedly near this plant. And some of you maybe remember. And the thing is that the plant, outside of this plant, there were some employees outside, and they spotted this Bigfoot-like creature at one end of, I guess, the building, near the building. And there were some train tracks nearby, but we noticed that because there was a bunch of pictures, there's still pictures on the report there. And there's these pretty high-tech cameras, as you would imagine one of these facilities would have. And so, one would think that there's got to be footage. And yeah, this particular channel, maybe I'll share it out later if I find it. I'll have to go into my history. Was doing some little in-depth into that particular report, and yeah, just going in deeper on how there's got to be camera footage, and whether that's ever going to be released, or is that going to be destroyed. Chances are it'll probably be not released, hopefully not destroyed. But man, that would be cool if there is some footage, which I would imagine there's got to be some, if that really happened. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And again, y'all network in the chat. What up, Prince Arcane? Salute to you, brethren. Good to see I. And yeah, let's see. Anything else for Bigfoot? Oh yeah, let's head on over. We got some more databases here. So hopping on over, this is BigfootOregon.com, I believe. And I'll double check here in a second. We've been pulling it up lately again now. We're bringing it back up as I see you could kind of go all over the country with the reports. It has a map of the country, and you could just click on your state, and reports will hopefully pop up for you there. And look at that. This one's riddled with Humboldt County. Yeah, not surprising. So another database here to get more reports from Humboldt. So I'm excited about that. And let's see. I did see, yeah, right here. We got an Alpine report as well. So we'll go ahead, since we're on this Alpine Sierra trip. And man, I would love to go visit. Let's see here. Where the heck did the report go? Uh-oh. So it threw us back. Looks like so we'll go here. Sighting database. I'll take you through it. Go to Cali. And where'd our Alpine report go? Look at that. Even one in the OC, Orange County here. That's interesting. That's right next to us here in LA. Darn it. We lost our Alpine. There you are, Alpine. So here it is. Camper sees creature near horses through night vision. Whoa, that seems interesting. Let's see how long this is. Let's go ahead and read this one. This sounds like a really good one. And yeah, we could sit here and read reports all day. That's why I'm kind of just reading the titles of some of them. And here we got Oregon, Bigfoot.com, file number 842, July 20th, 2004, Alpine County, nearest town, not described, or the road. Conditions were clear, pre-dawn, dark hours. Location, I would like it to remain confidential. You got it. And it says description of event. I was camping with family. We thought we heard a bear and kept hearing twigs and branches breaking. We did not see a bear, so we all slept in my truck. We had my mom's night vision. Cool. Mom had night vision. Right on. Go, mom. Uh, and I was looking in the direction of the noises for about 30 minutes. There were people with about 5 horses camping next to us, and that is where the noises were coming from. But all of the horses were sleeping. I got tired of looking, so I tried to fall asleep, but kept hearing noises. So, thinking I was about to see a curious bear, I lifted the night vision up. I saw what I thought was a man staring back at me. Wow. That again, putting that in my notes again, getting that stare back. We just heard that in a report we just read. Interesting. So let's see if we get any description of the subject here. So it says, I could tell that he saw me. He stood perfectly still. It is hard to judge size through the night vision. So I thought the man camping next to us might have heard the bear and was checking on his horses. Then I realized that there is no man that has 3 to 4 feet in height over a standing horse. Then I realized it was Bigfoot. Yikes. I knew he saw me, so I lowered the night vision to see if I could get a better view of his coloration, but it was pitch black. I lifted the night vision again, just as he bent in half and started mimicking the movements of the recently awakened horses. Interesting there. He was swaying his head back and forth exactly as they were, like he was trying to blend in with them. I did not feel threatened by him, so I just turned off the night vision and tried to go to sleep. I knew exactly what I had seen, and I heard my mother in law, whom I thought had been asleep, say, I think I see a man standing over there. I just said, yeah. I didn't tell him. And it says, I didn't tell him who it really was until morning. That was a good one, I thought. And probably being tired, you'd be like, oh, yeah, you got some, so I guess they didn't have recording capabilities or else we'd have a video. And the Bigfoot being around horses is interesting. We have heard of that before, but them being inside the horse area, sometimes the horses ending up with odd braids and stuff like that. What they call witch knots, I've heard. And I've heard some really far out stuff also with the horses, which I won't get into. We're not going to go there, but I've heard people bring it up, but who knows? Anyway, interesting. So I'll keep Alpine in my notes as well. Sierra Nevadas. Yeah, so many places up there I want to check out. And let's see here. What up, Roger? We got Roger up in here. So the bar and grill is open. I know that. Yeah, y'all got your snacks and refreshments. Y'all know how to kick back on this chat, right? Chop it up, network. I don't see anyone sharing any links. Had a good pareidolia event yesterday, says Poncho Zorch. All right, so what is next? So I think we're done with Bigfoot there. Let's see, stop sharing that. Boom. All right. Yes, the giant red pencil is out. Just taking a few notes there. Our silver squatch is here. This is our dogman protection, our good luck charm. And our dogman protection. 5G of silver. Of squatchy silver, baby. Yes, sir. Okay, so let's see. Is Gerald? I wonder if Midwest Night Watchers. I haven't seen them up in the chat, but I wonder if they're going live later today. Keep an eye out for their lives. I know Barry Littleton might be still live right now as we speak. And shout out to Barry. I think he was talking about UFOs and black holes, makos. But we're gonna get into some other UFO. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, they brought up UFOs, UAPs with this topic, and I don't even know how to kick it off. But I think we should kick it off from the top and then head back down to the bottom of things. I have no specific order. We're just gonna let things flow. I have the most amount of tabs I've ever pulled up. Hopefully the stream doesn't crash. But yeah, let's try. Let's just give it a shot. Let's get into this rabbit wormhole of things. So we'll kick it off with, let's see here. So yesterday we did a quick live using the phone here. I was giving people a heads up that I wanted to go live to touch on some of the things, the missing and unalive scientists. We have been touching on these cases as we touch on missing persons cases here. And I think it kind of goes along with Bigfoot, because some of these cases that I like to focus on are usually out, people hiking or in rural areas, and you never know, right? There's been reports when you get into the Bigfoot topic of you know Bigfoot taking people back in the day, even in our areas of Northern California. You get into some of the historical reports from some of the tribes up there that's been brought up, and it's fascinating. It makes you wonder, and I think Bigfoot is capable of doing things like that, and probably has. Um, and it doesn't mean, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do eat you, or maybe they just want to hang out with you. Maybe it goes both ways. Makes me wonder. And there's also the topic, of the missing 411, which uh, we're always questioning. I do feel there's something there. This is my disclaimer. Uh, there is something there. Something strange is happening, and so we follow these types of cases, and even some cases that aren't considered 411. If it's someone out there hiking, especially in areas that we are familiar with, or maybe it might be in your state, your county. We'd like to get the word out to try and do our little part to help however we can. And so yeah, you'll hear us touch on missing persons cases reports. And so if there's any high strange ones that you would like us to uh, touch on here, yeah, send those in. And so I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the scientists out there that have been unalived and missing. And I do feel, and I had said that there's going to be more coming out, especially with the internet sleuths and just maybe whistleblowers leaking information and stuff like that. And I know some of you covered the UFO topic very well. Shout out Cristina Gomez, and there's so many more of you as well. Recently we were on with Callie UFOs over on SNX Radio, which was cool, touching on some of these particular topics here, UFO related, strange. I consider even like the orbs UFOs as well. Um, yeah. So yeah, this stuff happening right now. We touched on it. There was a case of Monica Reza, who was uh, tied with the missing general now. Well, they're not saying that they're tied, but they work together. So I guess you're tied in that way, right? Um, which was interesting because we had heard of that report a while back. I know it was considered a missing 411 case, and so we had touched on it even from before it was considered a missing 411 case. We heard of it here locally because it happened up in these mountains right here, which we've been going up to. And yeah, just makes me wonder. It's like, man, and also there's other cases that have happened. We've touched on those as well out of these particular mountains. And so it makes you wonder what's happening in these mountains. And we've touched on also some weird stuff. Yeah, the time that Highway Patrol mentioned about yeah, the occult unalive or cult unalivings. And yeah, that was weird and not surprising. And so we know that there's strange stuff going on up there. There's been other stuff too, like weird white vans. Yeah. And doing things that are not good. And we also touched on those things. So it gets crazy. So imagine, yeah, these mountains are so close to this big city here. So you could imagine that weird things happen up there. And I also touched on it was on Collie's show that I was listening. I forget where it was. It was a supposed ex-employee from the National Forest up here, Angeles National Forest. And she was touching on some high strangeness that was going on up there. But she was talking about also like a lot of shrines and what do you call them? I'm missing the word. But anyway, it's altars and stuff. Yeah. That people do up there, you know? So uh, black magic, white magic, you name it, it's happening in those mountains. And it makes me wonder also because NASA, JPL, Caltech also they're at the foothills of these mountains. And we've gone, there's a bridge where you could actually see uh and I believe it's the Arroyo Seco. So there's a like a reservoir there, and it's a bunch of, usually it's dry because we're usually in a drought right out here. And so it's a bunch of dry land, and we've done live streams from there, and we could zoom into NASA and stuff. One time I accidentally ended up in NASA's like their entrance. Security had to guide me out of there. They're like, who's this guy? um and so I was trying to get close to the facility to check it out. And I hear you, like, over at JPL you could take tours and stuff like that. That would be super cool. um but it makes me wonder, yeah, why did they choose that particular place there? And it just makes me think, and it makes it seem that there's also like something underground, that dry area that I'm talking to you about. It's almost like a dry bed that I guess is a reservoir. And then it also yeah, the reservoir is interesting. That little bridge area from where I was filming at, I think it might be an Art Deco design too. Got to look into that. Looks like it. Um, and we've also brought up Pasadena. You know, I'm really attracted to this area, Pasadena, Altadena. There's been some really good channels that have done some breakdowns of its old world buildings, and anywhere there's like a lot of old world buildings, I think there was definitely something big going on there. So like Pasadena, I would imagine in the old world probably had a lot going on. We've done live streams over at the city hall and like, cruising certain areas, checking out like churches and stuff around Pasadena. These, yeah, old world Pasadena. And we have Old Town Pasadena, and of course, everything there is all old world. So yeah, makes sense. But yeah, what is happening? And in Pasadena has this haunted, I always talk about this paranormal haunted vibe. Um, they have the haunted forest, which we've brought up a lot. A Bigfoot report. That's the closest Bigfoot report that I've heard. And it's on the what was it? Bigfoot Encounters website. I mentioned earlier I was going to try and pull up. We've pulled up that report before, and it's out of the Cobb Estate Haunted Forest, and it's at these foothills again. So again, NASA, JPL, and all that. It's not too far from this haunted forest, Cobb Estate, and maybe we'll take a look at a map in a bit. But so last night there was breaking news with some happenings over in Washington, D.C. I'm sure everyone is aware of it. And I'll try to find that. Let's see, that I had the president's dinner, some pew-pewing happening there. And here it is. We'll have a look at that right quick. And it says here, a pew-pewing, a powing. Oh, bad. We need some new words, right? Here, we could do some sound effects, though. Occurred at the White House correspondence dinner on Saturday, April 25th. And I'm focusing, like, a lot of this stuff that we're going to be talking about, a good portion, we should say, of it, it's been happening in April. And it says here at the Washington Hilton Hotel, prompting the evacuation of President Donald Trump and other top officials. The suspect, Colt Thomas Allen, 31, of Torrance, California. Yeah, just right down over here. Jeez. Yeah. Opened fire while charging a security checkpoint armed with a shotgun, handgun, and multiple knives before being subdued by Secret Service agents. President Donald Trump was unharmed and quickly escorted from the ballroom along with Vice President J.D. Vance and First Lady Melania Trump, as guests dove under tables for cover. A Secret Service agent was struck by gunfire but survived due to a bulletproof vest. Allen, identified as a lone actor, was taken into custody without being shot and is expected to face federal charges, including assault on a federal officer and using a firearm during a crime of violence. It also says here the FBI and Secret Service are investigating Allen's motive, with evidence suggesting he targeted Trump's administration officials. Authorities found anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric on his social media, and he had sent writings to family members ahead of the attack. Allen was a part-time teacher, and I heard he also received like Teacher of the Month. And video game developer, okay, because this is going to get interesting. Video game developer with a mechanical engineering degree from, Caltech, folks. Which I was like, whoa, we need to break this here, because I haven't heard anyone mention that, because there is some other Caltech connections to what we're talking about here. So engineer degree, mechanical engineer degree from Caltech, and a master's in computer science. He donated $25K to Kamala Harris in 2004 campaign and had legally purchased the shotgun used in the incident in 2005 or 2025. Sorry. I was just like, hold up, what incident in 2025? I don't know what that's about. Maybe we're going to have to dig into that. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche stated the suspect likely traveled by train from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. Yeah, someone came in here earlier, mentioned something else that it's not confirmed, so I won't mention it, about the suspect. But really quick, the reason why I was like, whoa, Caltech, is because here, one of the people that's on the list, and I believe it's at 5 people for here, NASA, JPL, and I believe Carl was the only one that wasn't part of those facilities, but I think there might be still a tie between Caltech and those facilities. I'm not sure. Someone could maybe confirm that for us. But you could read here, and this is LA Times, and this is an older article. I think it doesn't say the day. Oh, February 19th, 2026, updated there. And then Caltech astrophysicist fatally shot on porch of his rural SoCal home. And we touched on this one when it happened. And we talked about, he lived over on the other side of the mountains where Monica Reza went missing from. And that particular area, when you look at his property, it was just like, it was like it was rural. Not pretty rural, I'll say rural. And I didn't see any neighbors around from the sky shots that they had. And again, we've gone in on this. You could check this article out. There's other articles out there, but there's a particular YouTube channel that popped up in my feed, and actually the thumbnail really caught me, and so I had to check it out, and I did last night, and it was very informative, and it explains in like 14 minutes who Carl was. Gets into the property. He actually had an observatory on his property, which is, you want to talk about a sky watcher. This was the guy. And so you could only imagine. I mean, us here, when we sky watch, we've documented some strange things in the sky. So you could only imagine having your own observatory. And that YouTube channel, let's see here, is Jesse Michael Clips. Let's have a look here right quick. And there it is, the third video. So he's already posted a couple other videos since this particular video that I want to share with you all there. And definitely check this one out. Top astronomer searching for alien artifacts was, you could read there, unalived. So, and it's interesting, even with the suspect, it's just highly, highly strange. The suspect came back twice. In some stories, they were claiming that he was a neighbor. Other stories said that he wasn't. And it's just really weird, some of the information. And even with some of the other stories coming out, some of the information, it's you're hearing things. And what was also interesting about Carl's case, and this is, I'm getting information from different sources, and if I do remember them, I will shout them out. But some of these sources will have a little bit of information, and then you get some information from some other sources that you didn't hear over here. And so I'm kind of bringing a little bit of that information here as well, and on top of some of my, opinions and feelings of things. So yeah. So what was interesting also about Carl's case was that it was, I believe, 11 days before that or after was when the general, the retired Air Force general, went missing. So let's see if we could check that out. So let's see, Carl, we'll go back to his. All right, I got this pulled up right here. So here's a Brave search. So it says Carl Grillmayer died on February 16th, 2026. And then, so let's see if we could find when the Air Force general went missing. Give me 1 second. Maybe someone could pull it up in the chat also. Anyone, feel free if you're quick on the chat. Like I said, I have a bunch of tabs pulled up. So I got to go through these. Let's see. I'm trying to get the date on the general. What up, brother Nighthawk? Good to see you, bro. And Juanito, been checking out. I've been lurking over on your music live streams, bro. So 1 second. Let's see. Air Force General. Do we have that? Here we go. All right. General William Neal McCaslin went missing on February 27th. So is that 11? 11 days after, is it? And we were pointing out, so there was the other night, there was two wild back-to-back speed chases. And in between those two speed chases, I had brought up several things pertaining to this. And then I made that for members only. So maybe some of you didn't get to check it out. But we were bringing out things that were happening on the date of 420. And we'll get back into that. And one of them led us to, it was Jay Widener's work on the Kubrick film of what was it? The Shining. And he brings up all the Apollo, I think it's the Apollo, is it the 13th or 11th? I don't know. But one of those Apollo missions, he brings up all the symbolism in that movie, and was also mentioning and referencing a bunch of 1111 references in that. So I found that interesting. And also in some of these cases, we were noticing some other 1111s popping up. It was weird, but as I go, if we spot any more, we'll point them out. But people, use gematria also, and we're pointing out certain numbers and things, and I found them interesting. So if they happen to pop up and I remember, I will bring them up. But yeah, that I found that pretty interesting there. And who's the funny looking minion guy? I don't know. I don't know. So that definitely went into my notes. And again, I'm just checking this stuff out. I have no plans on hurting myself or anyone here does. And yeah, we feel good today. Everything's all good. Got the homie coming in right now. Homeboy's coming in. Uh Another interesting, what's up, brother? Ooh. Another interesting possible correlation with these dates is also the case of Reza, and we also talked about her name Melissa Casillas, and I believe she was stationed out of New Mexico, and was it Los Alamos as well? Was she at Los Alamos? I'm not sure, but she took off very much like the general. Backpack, went up into the mountains, left, I think, most of her belongings behind, and hasn't been heard of since. So yeah, let's check that out. Let's see, Reza. So we're gonna pull up Monica's case here. Got it somewhere. Here we go. And what we got here is Monica Reza, 60-year-old NASA JPL material scientist and co-inventor of the Mondaloy rocket engine superalloy, vanished on June 22nd of 2025. All right, keep that in mind, June 22nd. And then, so we're going to look at Melissa's disappearance. Let's see. And again, a good deep dive into Monica's case. So we're going to reference another YouTube channel. We'll get into that because I did mention in her case, she disappeared very near that Devil's Canyon trail. So let's see here. So we're looking for Melissa. And again, if someone could beat me to it and find out when Melissa Casillas disappeared, and we can move forward. Let's see. Maybe I'll just search it. All right, here we go. Let's see what it says here. Oh, site can't be reached. What the heck? Maybe I got too many tabs pulled. There we go. All right, here it is. So it says June 26th. So Reza is June 22nd, and hers is June 26th. So is that what, 4 days after? And let's see, jumping in the chat here, so I hadn't been pulling up your comments, folks. Sorry about that. Paint him blue next to McCaslin picture. Okay, who's yeah? What's up, brother? Yeah, you too, brother. All right, Octopus, what up, man? Yeah, so what is next? So I did want to touch on this since we're touching on Reza and Casillas. We're going to hop back over to Reza's case. And so I mentioned the Devil's Canyon, and some of you know that sometimes people go missing in these places with the, you know, the name Devil or Diablo or anything having to do with the devil. It could be weird stuff happening there, you know, and maybe that's why they name it that. And so let's see, there was yeah, I wanted to share this. So in case some of you don't know, there is a whole thing on it, and we know DP here has written a whole book on. Yeah, it's called "The Devil's in the Details," and it's all these missing persons cases that have happened in places with those types of names. So I thought to myself, all right, something to put in the notes there, and it's something I haven't heard anyone mention. And we had brought that up. And so there's a YouTube channel here that goes in, and he's pretty much anti missing 411. He's like about debunking those cases, and he's gotten on DP's radar and actually mentioned, I think, DP trying to sue him or something like that. I have no idea. I think this video actually mentions it, but he does a deep dive onto Reza's case, and this is the video here. So this is Lore Lodge YouTube channel, and this is a recent video. So definitely check it out because he questions, and I like that he questions a lot of these missing persons cases because some of them aren't as strange as we think. And so he goes in on her case, and he brought up the Devil's Canyon, and I was like, the Devil's Canyon, good. And but I knowing that he's anti 411, I don't think he buys in to the Devil's in the Details phenomenon, right? So who knows? I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I did want to pull up and share the part about him touching on the canyon and some ties, because I did mention there have been some other disappearances that we've touched on some of these lives of that particular area. And I also talked about where we got that thermal footage, our famous thermal footage, which we need to go do the follow up on. And we did do a follow up. Is not far from this area too. It's right across the road from Devil's Canyon. Oh damn, our sign fell and homeboy picked it up. Appreciate that. It's very windy outside. So I pointed out that we got that whatever that was on thermal footage. We think it was highly strange. Is right across the road from Devil's Canyon, and then up the way a bit, up the road a bit, is where Mount Waterman is, where she disappeared. And then we've also talked about even on surrounding mountains, there's other cases of weird stuff, people gone missing and people gone missing and found after like a week or so and stuff like that. Weird stuff. So let's have a listen. I had it queued up at about the point where he starts to get into it. Let's see, where is it? I remember it was about 27. So we'll start 24 here. Again, this is the Lore Lodge on YouTube, and let's have a listen. Let's pop this up like that. And welcome to anyone coming in.
And taken somewhere else, and that her hat was planted. There were other people on the trail that day, none of whom reported seeing anything of the sort.
And he also points out, because they say that one of the only things found from Monica was her red beanie. So I now that it was pointed out to me, you could see her beanie right there. It's a brighter red than her her long sleeve shirt. And we also had mentioned her as part of this because in the missing 411 topic, they've brought up that wearing bright clothing can sometimes cause you to go 411. And then there's other, cultures around the world that have also mentioned that about not wearing certain clothing. Sorry, in jungles and forests and in areas like that. I guess in the wilderness. And so it's something I always kept in mind. And we had brought up that there was several other cases, recent ones out of California, where an elderly lady had gone missing, hadn't been found on her husband's birthday. It was weird, still hasn't been found. She was wearing a red jacket, and Monica was wearing a red jacket. And we brought up several other cases where the people were wearing red jackets. On one of them, we weren't sure if he was wearing a red jacket the time he had gone missing, but his missing person picture did have a red jacket. And we know that nowadays with phones and everything, a lot of times we actually get pictures just like Monica's here. That's exactly what she was wearing. That's from the hike. And we get that on a lot of cases too nowadays, which is good, right? Because then you get a real description of what they were wearing, what they look like. Sometimes they'll put an old picture or something like that, and they look nothing like what they're showing the public. So yeah, we thought that was interesting and thought I'd point that out.
And search and rescue arrived long before anyone could possibly have pulled that kind of thing off. The time between the last known sighting, even if we go by the photograph at double the light instead of the turnoff, and the arrival of a third party, the group of 5 hikers, is just 1 hour. Nobody could have gotten her up and down the trail in that span of time without being seen, and it would have been incredibly difficult to get her out of there by going off trail before the thermal-equipped helicopter arrived. The likelihood of it being an abduction is just so incredibly low, as is that of a wild animal attack, and yet the only other alternative doesn't make all that much sense either. How could she not realize she was going the wrong way? Even if she didn't realize it, though, her pace heading down the mountain would suggest that she should have been no more than 15 miles away before the helicopter arrived. That would technically put her outside of the 6-mile search radius south of the ridge, but she probably wouldn't have been moving at that pace. Though it's not the most unforgiving terrain in the world, there still isn't an actual trail down there, and her beanie was found in a rocky section. She would almost certainly have been moving slower, especially as she reached the steeper portions further down the slope. And even if she did somehow make it all the way down to the drainage, there could have.
Got it. Muted. Yeah. So what was I saying there? I was just saying that yeah, her beanie was. He's saying it now. Her beanie was just found, and that she was behind her group of friends, and they don't know if she was 30 feet or 30 yards behind. I don't. I guess that's not clear. But that she waved at her group of friends that she was hiking with because she was behind for some reason, and that she was all good, no signs of an emergency, no signs of her feeling bad or sick, or it just seemed like it was all good. And there hasn't been much talk since from anyone, family or friends. And yeah, it makes you really wonder what happened to her. Like did the UFO just come and whisk her off?
have been no doubt by that point that she was in entirely the wrong place and needed to turn around. Now, I will point out that she could very well have become stuck, as the southern slope has some incredibly steep sections. But again, that has us assuming that she continued downhill long after she would have recognized that she was going the wrong way. We can consider that she might have exhibited the standard lost person behavior of trying to follow a creek, in this case, the one running down the gorge between the Twin Peaks and Waterman Mountain ridgelines, but that would require her traveling over 8 miles over land before she'd be out of the helicopter search area, at which point she'd be almost to Cogswell Reservoir, where there is a road. And that being said, it seems that Search and Rescue also considered this, as they had teams in the Devil's Canyon area. User RH from the Ice Piraten forum says the following: the theory that she went down the South Ravine, missed the trail, and continued towards Devil's Canyon, or that she went east on the trail, but eventually ended up in Devil's Canyon, had been the initial theories the first day she went missing. Professionals concentrated heavy search crews and equipment, including heat sensors from helicopters, on the Waterman Three Points Trail, and thoroughly searched Devil's Canyon for a week. Other volunteer searchers have searched Devil's Canyon as well. Now, if you're wondering, what does all of this have to do with the story told by Subject A, this is where it comes back around. This entire search hinged on Subject A's claim that Monica was just a short distance behind him, confirmed that she knew where the turnoff was, and then inexplicably went a different direction. It doesn't make any sense that she would have gone south by accident, nor is there any explanation for why she would have done so deliberately. She was entirely too close to have mistaken where the turnoff was, and even if she somehow did, she would have known that she needed to be heading down the north side, which would have put the road in view pretty much until she made her way back to the trail. And based on maps, so long as she was going down the northern slope, she would have eventually come to Angeles Crest Highway. In other words, there is no good explanation for this, which doesn't run into some serious snags at some point along the way. So what does that mean? Well, it could suggest that Subject A wasn't entirely truthful about where he last saw Monica, but even if that were the case, her last absolutely confirmed position is less than a quarter mile to the east. There really isn't any place she could have accidentally gotten off the trail in that section either. Unless you count a mysterious shortcut, which Subject A apparently mentioned at some point during the search. As with many of the other things, I came across this in the Ice Piraten thread on the case, and though there's not much detail, we do get this from RH. The shortcut statement is another mystery. Subject A has mentioned it, but has never explained it or where he was talking about. There were no shortcut trails from the ridge. Some of the search teams went down the ridge looking to see if anything looked or felt like a trail or easy route down that north side. There was nothing, and it's all quite steep on the north side between where the last photo was taken and the trail turn. Also, Subject A has talked about how Monica wasn't comfortable with off-trail or navigation, so why would he suggest she take an off-trail shortcut? Also, from where the last photo was taken to the turn is only a quarter mile, so how much time would a shortcut save in that section? It's just another weird statement. Not only is it not the only weird statement, but this last one might be perhaps the most difficult of all to explain. Apparently, Subject A has told volunteer searchers that Monica had 3 liters of water with her when she disappeared, which, based on pictures of her backpack, would have been about maximum capacity. As RH notes, if that was the max she could carry, then it's hard to believe that she would still have 3 full liters.
All right, we'll cut it there. And yeah, I suggest if you're into this whole saga, definitely check this out. And yeah, definitely brought some information that I hadn't heard from other sources, and that's why I like that channel. I'm not a big. I don't agree with everything they put out, but I think they do pretty good deep dives. And another channel is what is it? The Jeopardy music. It'll come to me. Missing Enigma. It's also, I know DP is probably not a big fan because they debunk these 411 type cases, or at least, you know, they just bring you information that hadn't been brought up. And like Missing Enigma, he actually does boots on the ground. So he'll go to these locations where the disappearances happen. And, you know, that's always badass when you could do that. So let's see here. Where do we go from here? There's so much more. So again, so some of these folks that we have brought up had ties to NASA, JPL, and I mentioned that being right here in the foothills of these mountains. Actually, right, it's like right above where she went missing. It's like the facilities are down in the foothills, and she went up into those mountains pretty much behind the facility there. It's crazy. And that's where that happened. So whether you think it's something highly strange going on, or just maybe it's some sort of how would you say, operation where, you know what, we need certain people, and we're just gonna make you disappear off the map. It makes me wonder for sure. And it just seems more and more like this big movie is playing out. Uh all right. Anyone not familiar with NASA JPL? Let's see. We got a little information on that. And speaking of the 411 thing, there is another, and DP did just bring this up. There was a German, I think, physicist years back that had gone missing in some of these mountains here, Lake Arrowhead, I believe it was. And I know that made it to the 411 list. And that is the case of, some of you might know it, but and I was aware of this one also, but he falls under that whole German. They say there's a bunch of German physicists and just a lot of Germans with credentials that have gone missing mysteriously as well. But it's interesting because I do feel that if that, and if that's a thing, and I do think there is, but it's probably some sort of, and I'm saying this with the M, a MOTSI program, yeah, where maybe they're getting a bunch of people too, and they need the best of the best on board. So this one's Alois Cross, the 62-year-old German uh, physics professor, went missing on October 1st of 2013 during a guided hike on the Pinnacles Trail near Lake Arrowhead, California. He was attending a scientific conference at the UCLA Conference Center at the time and became separated from his group of about 20 hikers around 3:45 p.m. It says Cross was poorly equipped, wearing only a long sleeve shirt and denim jeans, carrying one water bottle, and had no survival gear. That's not good. The search involved over 250 personnel, including teams of multiple counties and the U.S. Forest Service, covering about 3.5 square miles of rugged brush covered terrain. Despite extensive efforts using helicopters, infrared cameras, and search dogs, no clues or remains were found. The official search was scaled back on October 7th, 2013, though volunteer teams continued efforts. His case remains unsolved and is documented in databases such as NamUs. There was no suspicion of foul play reported. And as the UFO flies, I mean, that's not far at all. But weird that that's happened in these mountains, and I'm sure there's maybe more. But let's see, where were we gonna hop to next? JPL, do a little history on JPL and NASA. Some of you might know the history on NASA already, and I just mentioned Matsis. Yeah, that comes up. Super interesting. Let's see here. Gotta find my tab. I think you're gonna be over here. Okay. Boom. So let's go to NASA first. And I looked up who was Werner von Braun. It says Werner von Braun, 1912 through 1977, was a German-American aerospace engineer and space architect who played a pivotal role in developing rocket technology for both Nazi Germany, said that with an M, and the United States. Born into an aristocratic family, he became a key figure in the Nazi Party and SS, leading the team that designed the V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile, which was produced using forced labor from concentration camps. After World War II, or after WW2, sorry. Where's my censor button, damn it? Can't say that. After two, von Braun was brought to the U.S. under Operation Paperclip, where he became a central figure in the American space program. Peace, brother. He served as chief architect of the Saturn V. And y'all know Saturn, the connections with that in the occult. Super heavy lift launch vehicle, which propelled the Apollo spacecraft to the moon. And he later advocated for human missions to Mars. His legacy remains controversial, characterized by the duality between his contributions to space exploration and his complicity with the Nazi, with the M, regime. And let's see here. So, one second. Sorry, I was thrown off by someone who came in right now. I was like, uh-oh. I was checking to see if it mentioned anything about NASA. Let's see. So it says Werner von Braun was the central figure in the development of the Saturn V rocket, the launch vehicle that propelled the Apollo missions to the moon. Although he was not the founder of NASA, which was established in 1958 by President Eisenhower, von Braun's team was transferred from the U.S. Army to NASA in 1960 to form the core of the newly created Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Now, I don't know. I know Huntsville has been coming up because I believe there's two of these cases that are tied to Huntsville, and one of them being a dude crashing in a Tesla, catching fire. And forgive me, a man. And I believe was it another female, and her name is slipping me right now, and she was really they made it seem, I think she might have unalived herself, or at least that's what it seemed like, or they made it seem like. And she had a lot of information on some sensitive stuff, I heard. And so I think she may have been tied to Huntsville, Alabama as well. So I don't know. We'll take a look. Hopefully we could figure that or correct that if not true. And it says, as the first director of the Marshall Space Flight Center, von Braun served as the chief architect of the Saturn launch vehicles, including the Saturn 1, Saturn 1B or I, and the massive Saturn V. His leadership was instrumental in achieving President John F. Kennedy's goal of landing humans on the moon. culminating in the headquarters in Washington, D.C., to serve as Deputy Associate Administrator for Planning before retiring from the agency in 1972. So this is interesting right here, too. The landing humans on the moon, if you believe that, because it seems like there's all these conspiracies surrounding NASA. And there is a link between NASA and JPL. Yeah, again, Kubrick's film comes up because some believe Kubrick may have possibly been behind the filming of the moon landing. Is it right? Something like that, right? And people have brought up the different, I guess, anomalies in the moon landing video. And so it comes to question, yeah, did they really land on the moon? Again, so let's see. And recently in April, actually April 1st, yeah, April Fools, we had again, let's see here. NASA's Artemis 2 mission launched on April 1st, 2026, coinciding with April Fools, yes. And I thought that was interesting. Anyway, so going back to, let's see, do we have something on JPL? So yeah, going back to the Kubrick, here's Jay Widener's, actually, I think it's his website. And so there's some YouTube videos, and I believe this gets into it. I had listened to him on several interviews he was doing way back when he did this work. And I guess you could check it out through his site or on YouTube there. And I'd like to go dive back into some of that information to hear what he was saying, because it's been several years since he had put that out. Let's see. So JPL, I got something on JPL. Let's see, where are you? All right, we got something on Jack Parsons. So let's see what it says here. I thought I had something pulled up on JPL, but anyway, John Whiteside Jack Parsons was a pioneering rocket scientist and co-founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL. So co-founder, who was also a devoted Thelemite occultist and leader of the Agape Lodge at the American branch of Aleister Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO. Yeah, so here we go, diving into the occult. He integrated his scientific work with esoteric practices, believing the magic, spelled with a K, to distinguish it from stage magic. The science were complementary paths to understanding reality and achieving one's true will, in quotation marks. Parsons' occult activities, including performing rituals, sex magic, invoking spirits, and conducting the famous Babylon working in 1945 and 46 with L. Ron Hubbard and others. I think was Crowley involved in that as well? Intended to incarnate the Thelemic goddess Babylon on Earth. Man, Rasa chant down Babylon, man. He believed he experienced supernatural phenomena during these rituals, such as poltergeist activity and astral travel, and even swore on an oath of the Antichrist, in quotations there, viewing himself as the embodiment of the entity Valerian Arminius Al-Dajjal. Interesting. Because there's others out there that have claimed to be like the reincarnation of certain people beings, entities. Like, what was it? Saddam was believed to be the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. His intense involvement in the occult, including allegations of black magic and his unorthodox personal life, led to the loss of his FBI security clearance and his expulsion from JPL Aerojet in 1944. This professional downfall contributed to his financial ruin and paranoia before his death in a laboratory explosion, which I hear is has been brought to question. Some believe it wasn't an accident. In 1952, which was ruled an accident, but remains a subject of historical speculation. There you go. Regarding suicide or murder. Interesting, Parsons. And we've talked about the parsonage, his mansion. You know, you could dive in deeper, and there's the book, I think it's Sex and Rockets, and learn more if you'd like. But yeah, I've learned about the parsonage, which is no longer there. That mansion has been turned into apartments, I believe. And it's in Pasadena also, and that's where a lot of these events were taking place, huh? And then going back, there's stories of him straight out of high school. I guess they were blowing so much stuff up in high school that they needed they got sent over to the Arroyo Seco, which was not far away, to conduct their experiments and explosions. And he was part of his high school group. It was a group of guys. Maybe there were some girls there too. I'm not sure, but they were called the Suicide Squad, if I'm not mistaken. And here's a little more information on, because I know a lot of you like to hear some of the darkness out there. And it's interesting. I find it fascinating and weird too, right? Parsons. So Jack Parsons was a pioneering rocket scientist and co-founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, who served as head of the Ordo Templi Orientis in California, the occult order founded by Aleister Crowley. Parsons became Crowley's most prominent American disciple, corresponding directly with him and performing rituals under Crowley's thelemic teachings, which included sex magic and invocation of deities like Babylon. L. Ron Hubbard, who later founded Scientology, was a closer friend and housemate of Parsons in the mid-1940s. The two collaborated on the Babylon Working, a series of intense sex magic rituals intended to incarnate the goddess Babylon and birth a moonchild. Hubbard acted as Parsons' scribe and assistant during these ceremonies, which involved chanting, blood rites, and sex magic, heavily influencing Hubbard's subsequent development of his own spiritual system. Huh. The relationship ended distraughtly for Parsons. Crowley suspected Hubbard was exploiting Parsons, sending a telegram stating suspected Ron playing confidence trick. Jack Parsons, weak fool. Hubbard eventually defrauded Parsons of his life savings, stole his girlfriend, Marjorie Cameron, and left him financially destitute. Interesting, very interesting. Parsons died in a chemical explosion in 1952, never seeing the space age he helped enable, while Hubbard went on to establish the Church of Scientology, which scholars note shares structural and thematic similarities with the OTO practices he experienced with Parsons. All right, some history there on JPL and some of the characters. And let's see here. We're going to skip on over. So, people have been mentioning the numbers climbing on the missing and deceased scientist. And we did bring up, let's see, there was one that did come to my attention, which was a family, actually. I think it was. Is this it? I think this is it here. So let's see. James Tony Moffat, a 60-year-old aerospace defense engineer and decorated Army veteran, died in a peace, bro. Died in a plane crash on April 17th, 2026, along his wife, Lisa, and sons Andrew and William. The family was traveling from North Carolina to Huntsville, Alabama, where their Mooney M20 single engine aircraft crashed in a wooded area near Union County Airport, South Carolina, while attempting to refuel. The incident has drawn significant attention due to Moffat's extensive background with NASA, where he supported 14 space shuttles or shuttle ISS construction missions, and his ties to the University of Alabama in Huntsville. His death is being scrutinized as a part of a broader pattern involving the deaths or disappearances of at least 11 other scientists linked to nuclear and aerospace research, prompting an investigation by the FBI, NTSB, and FAA. Yeah. So the president did mention about a week ago that he had just left the meeting and was going to be looking into the situation. And here we are about a week and a half later from that, and this situation with this guy entering the dinner and opening fire happens. So I don't know if that's going to delay things or what, but So a couple of things also. So this is still, let's see, this is still April. And on the 20th, of course, out here, 420, yes, it's ganja day. And so here at the shop, we opened, we're open for business. And then we had an event next door. So it's a thing that gets celebrated all around the world. But I know that 420 was also known for other dates like Mustache Dude's birthday, since we were mentioning Motsi's earlier. There's also Columbine was one I know and I do remember that happened on 420. And so it's just one of those dates where, things are known to happen, I guess. It seems like there's something about 420. And I looked up actually this occult, and I'm not going to pull it up because it gets dark. Like even reading this Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley stuff was dark enough, I think, for at least for online. And this other website I looked up, and it was hopefully I'm gonna just pull it up here so I could name it. Where'd you go? Okay, it was, so I did a search, and in this website, Occult Ritual Calendar popped up. And so I looked for the dates and of April, certain dates on April, and then right away it said, I believe it was on April, starting on the 19th. It's like a satanic 13 days of satanic ritual, and it peaks, I believe, on the 20th or something like that, and then it continues on. And so I don't know how legit this information is or this website is, but I was like, whoa. And it just describes certain things, and I was like, oh yeah, we can't show that stuff. But maybe there's an online version, I mean a YouTube version that we could do of this, because it would be interesting to pull up that information. But anyway, so 420, I started focusing in on 420, and then yeah, we got news David Wilcock's passing on that particular day. And again, condolences to all the families involved with this. We know there's families that, I mean, currently have lost loved ones in this situation. And there are those that have no answers where their loved ones are missing. So we keep that in mind, and condolences and prayers out to those families. And here, let's see. This was so I just looked up a major events 420, and so here April 20th is historically marked by significant tragedies, including Columbine High School massacre in 1999. And see Deepwater Horizon oil spill 2010, and then right here you got several. So birth of Mustache Man. And then this was interesting because I guess someone must have heard when we were talking about this during the stream, because I received a message after this. And this was 1914, the Ludlow Massacre in Colorado, where the National Guard unalived approximately 20 striking miners and their families. So this particular person was checking out a particular group. Like I say, it was like a video of like a AA being a cult or something like that. And I guess in that chat or in that video, this person seen a comment that was referring to this massacre, and it was interesting. It got my attention, and they sent that to me. So let's pull that up. I think we should check it out because I didn't quite get everything they were saying, but I knew it had gotten my attention. So let's see. And I'll go ahead and read this again. This is some lady's quote on, I'm not sure what platform, if this is YouTube or not. And I won't name her. Her handle is there, so I won't name her either. But let's see. It says here. So it says Rockefeller's Republic education system, the rehab industry, AA, pharmaceutical industry, petrodollar, the Ludlow massacre of April 20th, 1914, is indecent, connected to the oil-rich Rockefeller family, especially involving John D. Rockefeller, who was a major stakeholder in Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. Colorado National Guardsmen and company guards attacked a tent colony of over 1,000 striking coal miners and their families in Ludlow, Colorado, unaliving roughly 21 people, including women, children, by firing on them and burning. Wow. So I thought that was it. There was just a little bit of flow of information that I got from doing that. So I thought I was like, whoa. Didn't know about that. And let's see. Where am I going? I told you we were going to be all over the place, and I'm trying to do my best to keep on track. And let's see where we're going next. So 420. On 420, we also had this incident in Mexico up on the pyramids of Teotihuacan, which I found fascinating. And as soon as I seen that, and I seen that there was a guy, I was watching, and right away I was like, oh, well, pyramids, you think of sacrifices and stuff like. I was like, dude, and so that, and I didn't know what was the details yet, but apparently there was a gunman or a pew pewman. How do you say it? And he was up on the pyramids, and I guess firing at people, and I believe it was a Canadian lady that was fatally wounded, and others were struck. But the interesting thing was, yeah, it happened on 420 in this particular area, and it says the gunman in the 2026 Mexican pyramid pew-pewing, Julio Cesar Hasso, left behind an AI generated image of himself posing with Columbine pew-pewers. Yeah, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the 27-year-old, carried out an attack on April 20th, 2026, the 27th anniversary of the Columbine massacre at the Pyramids of the Moon. And that's why we started focusing, people started zeroing in on moon references. And we took a look. I think I still have the moon, what the moon phase was on that particular day. We'll have a look here. But yeah, Pyramid of the Moons in Teotihuacan, wounding 13 people and killing a Canadian woman, or unaliving a Canadian woman. Sorry, algorithm. Before dying by a self inflicted pew wound. So, items found at scene included the AI photo, a gun, a knife, and images of Hasso performing a Matzi salute. In the AI image, Hasso wore a shirt reading "disconnect" and "destruct" in quotation marks there, a phrase tied to the true crime community that glorifies the Columbine uh, event. We'll switch that up. You could read what it says there. Authorities also found books about Columbine, handwritten notes referencing supernatural entities. What's up, bro? How you doing? Give me 1 second. Where were we? False alarm. Thought I had a customer there and he got away. Yeah, we didn't have what he was looking for. So, anyway, where were we? So, interesting. Supernatural entities. And hopefully, I haven't been muted this whole time, or else I'm really going to kick myself. And bus tickets on his backpack. So, Mexican officials. So, I'm going to reread this. So, we're talking about the suspect of the pyramid situation in Mexico. They found books on Columbine on him, handwritten notes referencing supernatural entities, and bus tickets in his backpack. Mexican officials describe Hasso as a psychopath, in quotations there, and copycat attacker with an admiration for U.S. school pupils and mustache dude. Yeah. What else? All right. So 420, we also had the strange, I thought it was strange, passing of David Wilcock. And I shared that. Yeah, I remember years back when I first started getting online, he got on our radar. My brother and I would watch all sorts of different people and different sources of information. Some of it coming from the melanated community, some of them from different races, different cultures, different backgrounds. And at the time, David Wilcock was one of the first ones, but then eventually we got into other people and went our way. So I never really kept up with a lot of his teachings after that. But I mean, it was several years of checking out his work, so I'm very familiar with who he was. And again, condolences to his family. And I'm sure you all have heard some of the news here, and a lot of it, a lot of strange stuff revolving around his case as well. Some people are trying to add him into the missing scientists and the unalive scientists. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't add him as another one, but definitely part of the show there, the saga, the yeah, however you want to describe what's happening here. But I don't know. I'm starting to like, not that I see a picture, but it seems like something's playing out here. And what else? People were doing some numbers, some gematria on him, and I don't know. I believe it was David's passing, from the day David's pass. I don't know. Someone was bringing this out, and who knows? I didn't double check this, but like they're saying something about his name represents a certain number, and that it was that amount of numbers from his passing to the release date of Steven Spielberg's new flick, Disclosure, which I think we should check out the trailer to that. Let's see. What else do we got? So 420, also another interesting thing that made news out there was the big earthquake in Japan, a 7.7. It's huge. This is CNBC. And there were tsunamis. There were tsunamis, and sorry, we got one of our wild customers here. Might have to open the door. Anyway, yeah. So taking a quick look at the moon phase for 420. And I see we're coming up on 2 hours here. I won't hold you much longer, but we will try to get in a few more things I want to get in. So April 20th, 2026, the moon was in the waxing crescent phase. During this phase, approximately 11% to 14% of the visible lunar disk was illuminated by the sun, occurring 3.3 days into the 29.5-day lunar cycle. It also says visibility observers could spot surface features such as the Mayer's Crisium and, I can't pronounce this one, Fecunditatis. Try it. Oh, you try it. With the naked eye. While binoculars or telescopes would reveal the Endymion crater. Endymion. Next major phase, the subsequent full moon, was predicted to occur on May 1st, 2026. All right. Again, and so I was looking to see who were the 13th or the 12th or the 11th or the 14th, but some say it's even 22 or more. And here we got OAN, One American News. It says the 12th person added to the list of missing or unalive government scientists and officials, and I believe this is the one with the Tesla. So update Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. A NASA Aerospace Technologies electrical engineer died in a car crash in rural Alabama last year, which at the time raised concerns and suspicions among family members, according to KLFY. This now marks the 12th scientist and or government official to mysteriously die or vanish in the past 4 years. It says Joshua LeBlanc, 29, died in a fiery crash on July 22nd, 2025 in Huntsville, Alabama, where his Tesla was found, burned beyond recognition. Alabama authorities told Fox News Digital. The same day at 4:30 a.m. local time, LeBlanc's family reported him missing after he uncharacteristically, I couldn't say that the other night, failed to show up at NASA for work. There, LeBlanc reportedly worked on a number, I was going to say a number of nuclear propulsion projects. The outlet continued. The vehicle allegedly collided with a guardrail, then several trees, before the vehicle abruptly burst into flames at approximately 2:45. Later that day, according to reports, his body was severely burned and not immediately identifiable. Though authorities confirmed his identity 3 days later when the remains were transferred to the Alabama Department of Forensic Science. Notably, LeBlanc's family raised concerns about the nature of his death, emphasizing that he left his dog, phone, and wallet at home when he disappeared, prompting fears that he may have been abducted. The family also stresses that failing to communicate and plans to travel west was extremely out of character for him. Tracking LeBlanc's car using Tesla's Sentry mode, police discovered that his vehicle had sat at a Huntsville airport for 4 hours on the morning of his death. At the time, the family also urged Tesla to release the video from the car's Sentry mode system, which they believe may have captured crucial footage. However, KLFI reported that progress had been slow due to delays between both the company and law enforcement agencies. A linked page for LeBlanc indicates that he worked for NASA for about 5.5 years and served as team lead for the Space Nuclear Propulsion (SNP) Instrumentation and Control (INC) maturation program. So LeBlanc's family honored his memory in a 2025 obituary, and you could read that here. And yeah, that's odd because also through some other sources, because I had heard through several sources about this being another case here. And actually, someone was bringing up, let's see, I think it was Maverick Approach had brought up that this case actually reminded him, and I don't know if where he got his information, but I did take a look. Let's see. It was the case. You guys remember it was last year, and it was in Las Vegas. This guy drove up to the Trump, one of his properties out there, right, in a Tesla truck, and I believe lit it on fire or something like that. It exploded, and I do remember that happening. And he apparently left behind a manifesto with some interesting information. So go for it. All right, bro, stepping out right now. I'm trying to pull up this. Where'd you go? Yeah, give me a moment. Let's see if I could find it. Hopefully I did pull something up. And forgive me, chat. What up, Stargazer? Let's give you a shield there. I have not been in the chat as I'm trying to stay focused on here. And if there's any interesting information that anyone's shared in the chat, please repost that take a screenshot or whatever, or if you're the person sharing the information, you could repost it on my channel or drop it on the comment section after this. Because it's a little difficult with all these tabs pulled up, believe me, and then trying to stay on some sort of a path here with all these situations. Let's see here. Yeah, again, going back to David's case, something that I haven't heard too many people point out, but I did check out most of his last live stream because I was like, whoa, let's see if there's any, and I'm sure a lot of people have. And this was soon after, so I checked it out, and I did see where he mentioned about also Wine Free, the biographer of UFO research, David Wilcock, reportedly passed away on April 18th, 2 days before he did, 2026, just 2 days before Wilcock's death on April 20th, 2026. All right. So if that doesn't raise a flag for you, I don't know what will, but it says, let's see, connection, free co-author Wilcock's biography, The Reincarnation. And this is, I remember when this was all coming out, and I was just like, dude, I don't know, but again, I have heard people talk about reincarnating as certain. Do I believe it? No, I don't know. You got to show me some good receipts. And so for me, it's far out, and again, I respected him. Never. I know there was others out there that would go in hard on him and deep dive on him and all this stuff and bring out all this information. And that's why I'm just very weary about, just people, period. And especially when you're getting information from people, I'm really learning to dig for myself and think for myself too. Let's see. It says timing. While some reports cite Free's death as April 14th, filmmaker Jay Widener and other community members state he died on April 18th, 2026. Okay, I didn't know about that. Shortly before Wilcock's death in Boulder County, Colorado. Let's see. Context. The back-to-back deaths seem, or of these two prominent figures in the New Age and UFO communities, have sparked online speculation, though authorities have not confirmed any link between the two incidents. So, let's see. And let's see, can we pull up the Tesla situation? I know we have something here. Let me not rush through this. Let's see. And then, yeah, we got to pull up Disclosure Day. Also, a big situation in Louisiana. We had pulled that up. Also, that happened, I think, let's see. Yeah. Let's see, April 19th. Yeah, that massacre there. Massacre in Louisiana. So I did take note of that. Definitely in the notes. And I don't see. Oh, here we go. Thank you for your patience, folks. Here it is. So we were just checking out the possible 12th scientist and him passing in a Tesla, fiery Tesla crash. Mysterious, seems like. And this is the situation also brought up by Maverick Approach, the Manifesto. So I was like, let's look up the Vegas Cybertruck situation. And it says the Manifesto linked to the 2025 Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion was authored by Matthew Livelsberger. Is that German? A 37-year-old U.S. Army Green Beret from Colorado Springs. It's Colorado again, who died by suicide during the incident on January 1st, 2025, after detonating explosives in a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump International Hotel. The manifesto found on Liverberger's phone, and they also mentioned that I believe Sean Ryan's clips broke the uh, the manifesto over on his channel. And I got a customer. Hang on. What's up, bro? All right, all right. We're back. Took care of a little business there. Let's activate the camera. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna take a look at the manifesto here, and it says the manifesto found on Liverberger's phone and sent prior to the attack to a retired Army intelligence officer contained a range of claims, including that the U.S. and China, and a little earlier I mentioned it was more than 12 or 13. For some people are at 22 because they're including a bunch of, they say, scientists out of China who have also been unalived and missing as well. So got to bring that up. And so US and China have operational gravitics propulsion systems and advanced aircraft capable of silent, undetectable flight by manipulating gravity. He alleged these systems were being used for surveillance, with Chinese submarines launching drones off the US East Coast. And you remember when we had that drone incident, and just all the other incidents before that too, everything from the aliens in Vegas, Peru, uh Miami Mall. You could include all that stuff, the hearings, congressional hearings, the whistleblowers. I mean, there's just so much happening, is wild. And it says so, possibly linked to the 2024 drone sightings. The document also accused U.S. agencies, including the Department of Defense and DEA, of covering up war crimes in Afghanistan in 2016, where he claimed hundreds of civilians were unalived in targeted airstrikes. And here's some additional key points and investigation from the manifesto. And let's see. Livelsberger stated that he was being tracked by U.S. intelligence agencies and feared he could not escape across the Mexico border despite having a car bomb. He used ChatGPT to plan aspects of the attack, asking questions about explosives, firearms, and fireworks, though OpenAI noted its responses, including warnings, and used only publicly available information. Authorities confirmed he suffered from PTSD and traumatic brain injury, with investigators concluding the act was a suicide and not a terrorist attack, despite its public spectacle. The manifesto called for a wake-up call, in quotations, urging Americans and military personnel to rise against weak leadership, though he expressed no animosity towards Donald Trump or Elon Musk. And also with the stuff going on in Iran, going back to, I was talking about some of these, we'll call it Tartarian old world channels, focusing on Pasadena, California here. And also one of those particular channels, my lunch break, they did a whole thing on Iran and how they could have stuff out there pertaining to the old world, maybe technology or maybe some other valuable things. And also that's interesting because that also came up during the previous wars we've gone into, right? Like they say in Iraq, supposedly there was some sort of tech and artifacts and stuff out there that we were really after. Like it wasn't what they were telling us. The original or the narrative of the reason why we had gone out there or to these different places. And so that comes to mind as well. Let's see here. I want to see if there was anything else. So I do want to check out the trailer to what is it? Steven Spielberg's new movie. And let's see here. I thought I had it queued up, but let's have a look at that. Let's just look it up really quick on YouTube. Disclosure Day, right? Or is it? Oops, that's not YouTube. Uh-oh. Here we go. So I got something else queued up for you, and then we're gonna try and go over here. We're gonna check out this trailer right quick. Boom, there it is. Yeah, anyone check this out? Anyone planning on checking out this movie? I haven't checked out movies recently. Not too many. None at all, actually. I'm trying to think the last movie I may have seen. But this is definitely on my list. I'd go to the theater to watch this. Let's rewind and let's upgrade. Damn, we could go to 2160 4K. And again, I forgot I'm solo at the shop again. Oh man, here we go. Let's see, share this tab instead. And
what did you steal?
Secrets.
Here we go. We're checking out Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg movie coming out here soon.
The data they paid me to protect.
Are they people?
No.
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today's.
Kansas City, Lady in Red. What's happening to her?
Do you understand what she's saying?
I hear her. It's gibberish. I can't understand it.
And I can.
What's happening to me?
People are starved for the truth. I'm a part of it now. I'm just sorry they made you a part of it too.
Hello, Jane. Please, have a seat.
This 79-year terror campaign of lies has to end.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world.
That truth will upend all established order across the entire world. If you do this, there's no undoing it.
Why would they do this?
When the time is right, everything will become clear.
Whatever happens,
Don't you let go.
All right. So June 12th, that comes out. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. Let's see. What's up, Jonathan? Cool show. I'm at 3% phone charge, grocery shopping. Right on, bro. You have a good rest of your day. We did read some Bigfoot reports in the beginning. So if I know you're not usually here for all this other stuff. But yeah, we did kick it off with some Bigfoot reports. So check that out, folks. And let's see here. I think we're about ready to wrap this one up. Just checking my tabs here. Yeah, I think we got through most of them. All right, let's stop sharing that. Boom. Let's open up like this. And yeah, we're, oh my God, almost 2.5 hours in. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to get this off. And I'm sure there's going to be more information coming out. We will continue keeping an eye on everything and watching how things play out. Let me jump in the chat. What's up, Jeff? Good to see you, brother. Hopefully you got the day off today. And yeah, it just all seems like with everything happening here, it seems like a movie for me too. Like, I don't know how y'all are seeing it. And, you know, growing up in Hollywood, you used to see like, you know, filming on the streets and movie sets and the studios and all that. But yeah, with the conspiracies surrounding NASA, not saying that they're true. I mean, there's pick it the ones that supposedly went and they blew up in that mission, and there's people are claiming that they're really still alive. There was another one that happened recently I seen with the Artemis 2 mission. One of the astronauts on that, someone was pointing him out and was saying that's an actor, and they pulled out and I know people can look alike and all that, doppelganger, whatever. But it looked like the same dude. And he was on this other show, and they pointed that out. And I was like, oh, my goodness, could it be? There's been some crazy stuff. The astronaut lady who, remember, wore the diapers, drove across several states to unalive her husband. Not that that's part of any of this other stuff, but, you know, there's been some crazy stuff that's happened. What else? There's the moon landing. There's some other weird conspiracy surrounding NASA also. What is it? I know I'm missing one here. Anyway, it'll come back to me. So let's share a couple. Let's see. Again, Sky's the Limit. Smoke shop, skate shop. We're open today. Closed tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully I get a day of rest. Put in some overtime last night. And feel free to DM us with any questions of the shop. Bro should be checking messages there. Again, a number to the hotline. I don't know. Anyone ever tried calling the hotline? I don't know if I've received a call from here yet. But I did receive an email earlier, and thank you for that email. You know who you are. And I was gonna try and pull that up. They actually sent me an email with the pictures of all the unalived and missing scientists and all that, but I had some trouble getting that to pull up. Again, you could follow me on Pilled. I usually share these streams and other content that you probably get here on YouTube, also over on Pilled. What else we got? Twitch. I wonder if anyone ever watches us there. Who knows? Rumble. What up, Rumble? Big up to Rumble. We got, a little something going on there. We got some people. All right. We got Bro back. And let's see. Kick. I'm wondering if anyone watches there either. Who knows? What's up, brother? Got another homie in the house. Discord, folks. Y'all could make my Discord really active. I do share other posts there, other people's posts over on the Discord. Another place where you could share posts also and share with some of the folks that hang out here with us on YouTube. What's this one? Oh, Patreon. Yeah, don't worry about that. I should have pulled up the Rumble wallet. We won't pull up the TikTok. Haven't been on there anymore. That's my gram there. I'm not too active over on Instagram, but just a platform, another way to get a hold of me. You could send me a DM if need be. And the email is active, folks. So don't forget. You got a report. You got an encounter. You want to share. You want to come jump on, maybe set something up. We could talk about these topics that we talked about today. I'd be up for that. And yeah, don't forget, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube because you know how they do. Let's see. So Stargazer's got a few comments. I'm going to touch on the chat here a bit. I've been trying to avoid any real world news streams. It's reality, but it's too gloomy, says Stargazer. Yeah, bro. And I like to watch it too, just to see what they say, because then I look at it through my eyes and run it through my filters and my current beliefs and feelings. And then I go about my life. But I think it's important to be aware, especially, with all this happening. I feel like something big's coming. Could be people have been talking about Project Blue Beam or all these different programs and stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for any of that weirdness. And so, yeah, that's why we're rocking this live now. And it says, awesome job, great week, awesome year, Glenn, interesting topics. Good night. Yeah, good night to you, Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks, and thank you for hanging out. It says, I wished I lived closer. I'd have you build me a deck. Do you ship? Yeah, we do ship. We could ship. We have shipped to the UK across seas before. Had no trouble. And yeah, we could figure something out. Send me a message and we could talk. I want an old school Santa Cruz cruiser. I'm too old for tricks. Yeah. Most of us need cruisers also. And we get a lot of those. We have different types of cruiser boards, different sizes. And we could always, go get what you're looking for you. Yeah, we're good at that. My brother's good at that, hunting stuff down. And thank you for the emojis there. Thank you for the interesting information this afternoon. God bless. Bless up, everyone. Stay prayed up. Yeah, spiritual warfare is going down. And interesting times, yes, it is. All right. We're going to hit our outro here. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. And yeah, this was a fun one. I think we got most of it off. If there's anything I forgot, we'll bring it up on the next one. And yeah, we are out, folks. Again, Sky's the Limit Smoke Shop, 3925 East Olympic Boulevard, East Los Angeles, Boyle Heights. One love.